Hello and welcome back to Season 3 of Agriland's Dairy Trail. I'm your host, Cathal O'Shea, Technical Dairy Specialist with Agriland. In this week's episode, we travelled out to the farm of Dan and Danny Summers in County Wicklow. The father and son are milking more than 200 cows just outside Arklow, but there is a twist. This farm is not interested in the typical black and white cows we're used to seeing across Irish dairy farms. Instead, they have a herd of red and white Montbéliardes. Dan tells us about how the farm got involved with Monties and talks us through the current farm system. He also speaks about the current operations on the farm, with the dry off and winter milking currently at hand. We look at the year in review in terms of grass growth and breeding, as well as speaking on the farm's resilience when dealing with issues such as diseases and droughts.
So we're here in Barnetley, Arklow, County Wicklow, with Dan Summers. Dan, maybe you can talk us through the farming system you have going here.
Yeah, I'm farming in partnership with my father, Danny. We're milking, we've full-time man, my cousin Sean is with us, and we're milking 230 Montbéliarde cows. So we have a split calving system. So we make about 40 to 50, calve about 40 to 50 in the fall of the year, and then the rest are calved in the spring.
Okay. And how's the spring calving going for you at the minute? How are you finding that?
Well, the autumn calving, we're just about finished up. We're finishing up at the moment, and it's went well. Like, we've had no real issues. We always find that the autumn calving is always a lot simpler. There's a little bit less, little bit less intense, and it's went well so far now.
Okay, brilliant. And look, I suppose Montbéliardes, there's not too many around. How did you get into that, Dan?
Well, look, my father and my uncle were in partnership back years ago, and they had the small bit of tillage that wouldn't have had a big milk quota, so they would have had sheep and cattle and sucklers. So the Montbéliarde kind of suited both systems. So you had a good calf, a good cull cow, and it kind of worked well with the suckler and the system if you wanted to move them across. And then I would have came home in 2011 and went into partnership with my father, and my uncle retired. So we kind of just went more into the dairy side. Then once quotas were abolished, we kind of decided to go complete dairy, and happy enough with the Montbéliarde cow. Now we find it very good.
And did you buy in more after the quotas, or did
We
you
kinda-
breed your own?
Kind of tried to breed our own. Now last year we bought some. We would have bought some in just to try keep numbers up, and but like majority is homebred. Like, so we're trying to build from there. So.
And how are they doing in terms of, I suppose, solids and kilos and all that?
So this year they're predicted to do around 7,000. Yeah, they're predicted to do 7,000 litres, 557 kilos of milk solids. So look, we're very happy. Like, it'd be traditionally grass-based system. We don't, like, we would have fed a bit more concentrate this year with drought. We would suffer from drought here on the farm. It's quite dry. But like, it's generally mostly grass. Like,
Okay,
we find them good. Montbéliarde, very good calves, give very good calf, good milk, good quality, easier maintained, good fertility. We just find they're very easy, we're very fond of them, to be honest. So like, I can't see us moving away from them.
Brilliant. And I suppose then, look, you're saying you're milking over 200, you're producing over 7,000 litres. How are you getting on with the banding then, maybe? Is it getting a bit tight?
It is getting a bit tight, but look, we do feed an awful lot of whole milk to calves and stuff to try stay under the banding, and we finish all our cull cows, so it does kind of help that way as well. So look, we'll have to cross that bridge when we come to it, but like, at the moment we're sneaking under, but hoping to keep it there, you know.
Okay.
But like, that's why we do feed a lot of whole milk to calves, and it does help.
And how does that go, feeding whole milk? Are you happy with the...
Yeah, no, I find it, look, it's just the system we run. We find the calves do very well at it. Have no issues, and like, look, there's no point us buying milk replacer if we hit on the banding, so we might as well give it to the calves. Like,
Exactly. And I suppose then, at this time of year, when you are feeding, you're always trying to stay on top of labour. You've automatic feeders in since 2013, when there weren't really much of a thing. How did you get on with all of that kind of system there?
no, the calf feeder is, look, they won't eliminate all the work, or there's as much work probably with the calf feeder, but you can just choose when you do it. Like, so you can go down and check your calves. You'll know if there's a problem. You'll see a sick calf on a machine before you'll see it when you're feeding in batches, because straight away you'll go down and see that calf hasn't sucked. It'll tell you if it hasn't sucked slower than the day before. you can go in and you see it, like, and we find it works well now. Look, everything has its pros and cons. Like, if you do get issues in the house, it'll spread more quicker and stuff like that. But look, if from a labour saving point of view, it's probably one of the better things we have bought on the farm, because you just able to manage it that bit better. Like, you're not feeding calves for the whole duration they're being fed. Like, you're not carrying milk. You can go down once they're on it and trained on it. Very few issues.
Okay. And then with the calves then as well, you're vaccinating and you're cleaning, you're keeping them in top order down there. Maybe you could talk us through the system there.
Yeah, well, look, we vaccinate. Like, the calves are vaccinated very young with intranasal for pneumonias and stuff like that. We try to clean out the pens as regularly as you can. So, like, we have it in a way that you can lock them across. We'll come in with the loader, clean out the pens, fresh bedding as often as we can. Like, obviously, it's not regimental, but we try to do it quite often.
Okay.
And keep fresh bedding and good ventilation and stuff like that. So we have a crush down in the shed as well, just to be able to ease to do the calves that way. Like, so it's handy enough.
Brilliant. And did you get hit with any pneumonia this year? I suppose it was warmer coming into the start of November when cows are calving down.
No, we didn't really get a whole lot of pneumonia issues this year. Like, look, we do spend a lot of money on vaccines and trying to keep it when stock are in. Like, so that all the weanlings coming in would have got Bovie passed 3 or 4 weeks before they went in, and then the second shot just as they came in. So we haven't. Lucky enough, the weather kind of changed not long after, got a little bit cooler. So look, touch wood, it's been okay so far.
And you were saying maybe you had a couple of problems with salmonella there a few years ago, which is quite uncommon here. How are you on about that now?
Well, no, look, we're lucky enough now. The vet put us on with a vaccination program. So we vaccinate for salmonella, we vaccinate for IBR, lepto, and we do rotavirus then for the cows, and we started doing cryptium as well. So just for cryptosporidium, I've young kids at home, so we kind of went for that reason alone. So it seems to be working not too bad. It's just trying to manage prevention rather than cure if we can. Like,
brilliant. Now, I suppose if we go back to the lovely Monty cows, drying off the majority of the herd now, there's about 200 being dried off. How is that going for you? What kind of system is going into that ahead of dry off?
Yeah, well, look, we try keep it as simple as we can. We're doing a small bit of selective dry cow tubes to train anything under 50,000. And then what'll happen is we'll draft them out that morning. They'll be left out of the drafting pen. After milking, we'll go back. We'll use methylated spirits to clean the teats, and then there'll be one guy who'll just do the tubes and the teats, and then another guy. We do them in a rollover crate, so the 4 feet will be paired, their tails will be clipped, ears clipped, and dosed. And then one guy will just concentrate on just the drying off.
Okay.
And so they'll either get whatever tubes we tested to see what tubes we need, and we're using them and sealer. And then some of the cows will just get sealer if they're under 50,000.
Okay, so you're mate recording a couple of times a year.
Oh yeah, we'll record every 2 months, but we'll try to do that, and then they'll go out to a separate shed then for drying off away from the main herd.
Okay, fantastic. And then maybe you're saying you're doing them in a rollover crate, so all the cows are getting hoof paired. How is that going?
No, look, the rollover crate, we've had it in a few years now. It works well. We just found feet was an issue with any cows, like with long walks, and just a lot of time it's a simple fix. It could be a little stone or something like that. So we went that way. We found it's very good. It's a very safe way of doing them.
Okay.
And look, you can do a cow whenever you want to do a cow. It's kind of treat lameness like you would mastitis. Now look, it doesn't always get work, but look, we that's just the system we went with. Like the drafting system, we've an AFCO drafting system. It works very well with like with the collars. We do all AI with the cows, so we're able to draft them, and it's information, and the technology to give you that information is key at the minute. Like it saves so much labor. Like we don't do any tail painting now.
Okay.
Whereas used to be pain in my life was tail painting cows and trying to pick them out, and like my father would be bringing in the cows I'd be there trying to watch for tails, and it just the amount of work they reduced from an AI point of view with the collars and the timing for sex semen was just brilliant. Like.
Massive reducing labour. And then you're breeding a couple of Monties then as well, I see then, is it? Or excuse me, a couple of Belgian Blues, 3 Monties.
Yeah, so like we do sex semen, and we use some conventional semen as well with the Monties. Like we buy some off Dovea, we buy some off Bow Sires, and it works well. Then we use Red Gene Belgian Blue then for cleaning up on the cows, and they sell really well. Lads really like them, and like some of them come red, and like they seem to be very popular. Others don't come red, but they're good condition,
Yeah.
and they're good hardy calf. So we're happy enough.
And nice strong price then come the spring.
Oh, look, we have a lot of existing customers as well. So look,
Right.
you have to be fair as well. But look, beef prices are very good, and long may it continue. Like it's just the milk price isn't great at the minute, but sure, look, we'll have to ride that out.
Fantastic. And then I suppose you're saying you use sex semen. So how's that going? That's all for replacements, I presume.
Yeah. Yeah, we use sex semen and conventional now. Like, so we'll be trying to select the cows that would be suitable. So any cows that would have had a hard calving or would have had retained placentas, you won't use sex semen on them. So you're trying to use sex semen where you get the best results, because it is an expensive way of doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
So like that's what we were trying to do, is use as much heifers as we could early as well and close together. It was just easier from a management point of view for rearing.
Okay.
And then you'd have your later ones, which are Belgian blues.
Okay.
And we found the blues have a short gestation, so you're not losing out too much then as well. Like.
Okay, fantastic. And you were building numbers last year, but your replacement rate generally would kind of be in around.
Look, we'll bring in about 50 heifers this year. Like there's always cows you want to kind of move on and replace. I think the herd, the average lactation in a herd is probably 3 point. Like the herd age, the lactation age at the moment is probably 3.3.
Okay.
So it's not an excessively old herd, but we do have cows there on a 9 and 10 lactation as well. Like, but look, you're always trying to improve, and like we're probably getting more selective on the cows we're keeping, and solids. It's a big emphasis on solids and milk production and quality. Like, so that's where you're kind of going.
Fantastic. And then I suppose maybe at this time of year, your feeding routine, how does that consist of? Or
look, we keep it quite simple. So we feed silage, fodder beet, and meal.
Okay.
So like they get the meal in the parlour, and they get their silage in ad lib, and then they'll get beet twice a day.
Brilliant.
So it works quite well.
And that's chopped beet then?
Chopped beet in on top of the silage, and
okay.
Not
and
fancy.
You're growing that yourself, you're saying?
Yeah, I know. We've 28 acres of beet this year now, and look, it's a great quality feed, and it's very well suited to Ireland. Like, so you're always you mightn't get the tonnage, or 1 year you always have the quality. So you know whatever tons you have will be quality feed. So it works well for us. It suits our system.
Okay, brilliant. And then maybe you're kind of maybe a little bit of a drought area here, right? So how did you get on with silage this year?
It was lucky enough that the drought kind of came after the main cuts were done.
Okay.
The red clover didn't seem to be affected too bad. So we got 4 cuts with the red clover. We got 2 main cuts with the traditional grass silage, and there is a bit of clover incorporated, but it worked well. We were lucky enough the drought kind of came just after the second cut. It didn't affect the cut, so we had good quality. Like previous years, we had a lot of silage that we didn't get, so it worked out not too bad. But still, it's a management issue trying to keep cows that are not that long in calf, or embryonic loss with high nitrogen going into lush grass and stuff like that. So look, it was a challenge, but look, it was a good early grass growing year, and then the back end there's nearly been too good a growth for cow when you're closing covers, because you're afraid then if you get out late in the spring, you're going to have mad heavy covers to get through. Like,
that's it, yeah. And would you find it kind of in the back end of the year, the start of the season, is it harder to build condition in maybe the Monties than it would be for some other cows? They're a stronger cow maybe?
No, there's not much. Like the Monties always fairly good condition. Like, there's not a massive issue there. Like, and especially even like if they're not in calf, they'll just be fat. Like, so like, it's they're great that way from a fattening point of view for cull cows. But there's no issues with keeping the condition. They're fairly easy to manage that way. Like, especially when you're feeding beet.
That's it. Fantastic. And then I suppose the grass season itself, it went well enough really, other to the silage, just for the grazing block itself here. You were happy enough, other to look, drought has become a common thing here, unfortunately for you. But how did the grazing season go on a year in review maybe?
No, look, it was look, no 2 years are the same. It is what it is. But look, it was a good grass growing year until the drought, really. You can't complain. Everything was looking good. Like, beef prices were good, milk was good, but look, there was a little bit of a blip at the end, but look, and the back end has been, like, it's been very mild and good weather, so stock was out a bit later than probably normal, so it hasn't been a bad year, no.
Okay. And when did you house stock then?
Probably, I suppose they're probably in 3 or 4 weeks now at this stage.
Okay, kind of.
Everything is like, so like we would have had, the cows probably were in by cows were in by night. You know, there was a bit broken weather, but I was trying to keep covers down. I was worried that some covers were going to get too strong.
Okay.
And so I kind of went back out again and took off a few now. So look, fully closed now, and hopefully it'll be building for the spring.
Fantastic. And look, they're probably in. It's a nice time to get them in, but how are you going to be setting slurry storage maybe for the spring?
We're okay for slurry storage at the moment. We are planning on building more just to be able to regulate when you can go, because it's a valuable asset. Slurry
At the minute, you're not really a four spreader though, are you?
No. No, we'd be close, but we do a very early ground here and dry ground, so we should be able to get out when after this close period. Shouldn't be an issue that way. But like we're going to probably build another tank now, and just to be able to have that little bit of storage is a valuable asset, and just to be able to put it out when we want to put it out, where we want to put it out with soil sampling and with the trail and shoe. So like it's a precious commodity as well.
That's it. And you said you've built in the aerators into the tanks there. Well,
Yeah.
At least one of them anyway. How is that going for you?
We have the aeration. So we have a dairy power aeration system in both tanks. It probably was more from a safety point of view, because just the yard is on a bit of a slope, and we would have had to do internal agitation. So it was a safety issue we went for completely, really.
Okay.
I'm very happy with it. There's the slurry's uniform. It's ready to go. There's no real issues. So look, we're very happy with the system.
And that's important for you as well, because I suppose you have a bit of shiny metal disease here. You're all no contractors in here. It's all yourselves that do all the work.
Yeah, it probably is madness, but sure, it's just the way we are, I suppose. Happy enough. Look, we do cut our own silage, we spread our own slurry, and we try to do all the jobs we can ourselves. Like, we have a contractor comes in to do the beat. But look, lucky enough, Sean is a big help with that. He does a good bit of the machinery work with myself, and my father does all the feeding. So look, we kind of all have our own jobs, and it works well.
Fantastic. And then I suppose maybe just in the back end of the year with SEC, how has that gone for you this year? Are you keeping levels at a good enough rate? Or
Yeah, we didn't really have any major spikes. Probably you would always get a little bit of a spike with a kind of an artificially high cell count when big number of cows calving.
Yeah.
But from a cell count point of view and a mastitis point of view, this year has been quite good.
Okay.
We teat spray, and we would look at all the milk cordons and be kind of watching cows with persistently high cell counts and take them out or mark them for culling or feed them to calves or whatever you need to do. And like, if there's a persistent problem with a cow, we will just take her out, like try to keep quality as best you can.
Fantastic. And then you're also putting the effort into cubicles. You've mats down and you're liming twice a day.
Yeah, we've the easy fix cubicles and mattresses. Find them very good for cows don't get stuck and hurt. But we're liming the cubicles for the dairy herd twice a day, and then we are doing the heifers, the in-calf heifers, so we get them cubicle lime once a day, clean, brushed off, limed. So try keep it as best you can. Like, you can only manage what you can control. So
that's it.
Seems to be working so far.
And sure, good cubicles are kind of helping again with the lameness as well. There's all that.
Yeah, no, the cows, we find the cows are, since we changed to the plastic cubicle, we find there's a lot more cows lying down for longer, and seems to be working better now. So.
And then on the farm, you're kind of set up with infrastructure. You've a nice shed system, milk and powder, the whole lot. Maybe you could just talk us through how the system is actually working here.
Yeah, so like we've the main cubicle house with 140 cubicles, and then there's another cubicle house outside. There's about just under 100. So the main herd will be there, and then there are the parlours between the two. So there's a 22 unit swing over. Probably parlour was putting in 15 units. We're putting in 09, and then a couple of years later we put in another 7.
Okay.
So we have a back collecting yard with a backing gate, just. Especially when we used to be running bulls, it was a kind of a safety thing as well, but it keeps the cows flowing. One man's able to run it. Then so we have another calving shed where there's some of the young stock is, and then there's some cubicles down there. So the cow go out there at springing, then they go up onto the straw, then they calve down on the straw, and then they come back into the main herd.
Okay.
So look, it works well. Sure, that's all.
And you've also invested then in infrastructure in terms of laneways and stuff, I see.
Yeah, we've concrete laneways for the main the laneways that take the most traffic.
Okay.
So it was just it was hard with slopes and just muck and stuff to keep it right. So we just kind of invested. Lucky enough, before concrete went really crazy, was a few years back now, we invested in it and it's worked well so far.
Fantastic. And then I suppose maybe we'll just finally touch on the grass itself in terms of reseeding and stuff as well. How is that going for you? You're seeding quite often here as well.
Yeah, we reseed. The whole farm probably has been reseeded in the last 10 years. The whole place has been reseeded, but we're always constantly reseeding. Like,
Okay.
so, like, we would move the beat ground around the farm. It's sometimes on the rented block, sometimes on the home block, and we'd reseed after the beat, and it's working well. So
And that's
we do
with nutrients then as well.
Yeah.
Into that ground.
Yeah, we do some direct reseeding on the grazing block as well. Like.
Okay. And is that clover mix or what way are you?
Yeah, well, we were trying to mix in. We would get a clover mix, grazing mix. So like we get that, and we've incorporated clover. We have tried to incorporate clover with the drought years. The last couple of years, it hasn't worked probably as well as we'd like. Certain fields have taken better than others, but we haven't put it into the slurry tanker and trying to put it out that way.
Okay.
But like look, we are trying to build clover on the farm. It is a great asset. Like.
Okay, fair enough. Well, thank you very much, Dan. It's been a pleasure, and best of luck with the rest of the calving and into the back end of the year.
Thank you very much.
That's it for this week's episode of The Dairy Trail. Thanks for listening, and tune back in next week for more. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to rate it 5 stars wherever you listen to your podcast.